Arsenal, Guardiola, Gallas, and the week that could change everything. There are weeks in football where everything seems to happen at once. The kind of week where you wake up every morning wondering what fresh drama is waiting for you before your first cup of tea. For Arsenal fans right now, this is one of those weeks. And honestly, if you are an Arsenal supporter reading this, you probably already feel it in your stomach. That mix of excitement and nerves that only football can give you. Because right now, Arsenal are not just fighting on one front, they are fighting on two, and both battles are far from over. So let us sit down, go through everything properly, and talk about what is really happening with Arsenal right now. The Premier League title race, the Champions League semi-final drama, Pep Guardiola keeping one eye on the Gunners, and William Gallas calling out Mikel Arteta in a way that has got people talking. There is a lot to get through. Let us start from the beginning. Where Arsenal stand right now. First, the facts. As things stand in the Premier League, Arsenal are sitting 3 points clear of Manchester City at the top of the table. 3 points. That is the gap. That is all that separates them. Now, City do have a game in hand, which means they have played one fewer game than Arsenal. So the picture is tight, very tight. This is the kind of title race where every single point matters, where a draw feels like a loss on a bad day and a win feels like oxygen. Arsenal face Fulham at the Emirates Stadium on Saturday evening, win that game, and they go 6 points clear of City at the top. 6 points. That is a much more comfortable cushion, even with City still having that game in hand. But Pep Guardiola's side do not play until Monday evening. Their match takes them to Goodison Park to face Everton, so Arsenal have the chance to act first this weekend, the chance to put the pressure on before City even step out onto the pitch. Does that sound like opportunity to you? Because it should. This is exactly the kind of moment Arsenal have been building toward all season. The Champions League semi-final that had everyone talking. Before we look ahead to Fulham, we have to talk about what happened in Madrid, because it is the story that everyone in the football world has been discussing, and for very good reason. Arsenal travelled to face Atletico Madrid in the first leg of their Champions League semi-final. A massive, massive occasion. The kind of game that comes along very rarely. The kind of game that can define a season or even a generation for a club. The match ended 1-1. Victor Gyökeres scored from the penalty spot for Atletico. Julian Alvarez also converted a spot kick. So going into the second leg, everything is still very much alive. Arsenal will host the return at the Emirates Stadium on Tuesday evening. No away goals rule in this era of the competition, so it is completely open. A 1-1 is not a bad result for Arsenal. They have their home crowd behind them in the second leg. They know they can hurt teams at the Emirates. There are reasons to be positive. But here is where the night got complicated. Here is where it got controversial. Late in the game, Arsenal appeared to win a penalty. Eberechi Eze, who has been one of the most exciting players in English football this season, went down under a challenge inside the Atletico penalty area. Referee Danny McAlee pointed to the spot. Arsenal were going to have a chance to take the lead. The Emirates dream was getting closer, and then VAR stepped in. After a review, the referee went to the pitch side monitor and reversed his decision. The penalty was taken away. Arsenal did not get the chance to score from the spot. The match ended 1-1 rather than potentially 2-1 to the Gunners. Now, was it the right call? Was it the wrong call? That is a debate that will probably run for weeks. What we do know is that Mikel Arteta was absolutely furious after the final whistle, and that reaction has become its own story. Arteta after the whistle, let us be honest. Mikel Arteta does not hide his emotions. That is one of the things that makes him such a compelling manager to watch. He cares deeply. You can see it in every press conference, every touchline moment, every post-match interview. After the game in Madrid, Arteta came out and made his feelings very clear. He was frustrated about the decision to overturn the penalty. His argument was that the original decision on the pitch was not overturned because of a clear and obvious error, which is supposed to be the standard for VAR to get involved and reverse a call. Arteta felt the rules were not followed properly. That is his position, and a lot of Arsenal fans agreed with him. Plenty of people watching the game had questions about why the penalty was reversed, but here is where it gets interesting. Because not everyone in the football world was on Arteta's side when it came to the way he handled the aftermath. Enter William Gallas. What William Gallas said, William Gallas knows Arsenal. He played for the club. He understands what it means to wear that shirt and what it means to compete at the highest level. So when he speaks about the Gunners, people listen. And what Gallas said about Arteta's post-match comments was pretty direct. Speaking to Ladbrokes, Gallas said he was not happy about the way Arteta handled the situation publicly. He acknowledged the emotions involved. He said he understood that these are big occasions and feelings run high, but then he made his point very clearly. Gallas said that regardless of whether the penalty call was right or wrong, a manager should not come out of a game of that magnitude looking for someone or something to blame. He said that if you go back through the season and look at every decision that has gone in Arsenal's favour, you would find plenty of examples. And after those games, nobody from the Arsenal camp was coming out to say the referee got it wrong. His argument was essentially this: decisions go for you sometimes. Decisions go against you sometimes. That is football, but it should not be a one-way street where a manager only speaks up when things go against his team. Gallas said he would rather see Arteta come out and talk about what his team could do better, talk about the performance, talk about the positives and negatives of what happened on the pitch, rather than putting the spotlight on the referee or the VAR system. Now, what do you think about that? Is Gallas being too harsh, or does he have a point? This is actually a really important conversation because it touches on something bigger than just one decision in one match. It is about how managers communicate, about what message they send to their players and to their club, about how they frame setbacks. There is a school of thought that says a manager who defends his players and fights for them publicly builds trust and loyalty in the dressing room. Arteta was doing exactly that. He was going in to bat for his team. He felt they were wronged and he said so. But there is another school of thought that says the most effective managers are the ones who focus inward, who take responsibility, who make their team better rather than pointing fingers at external forces. Both views have merit, and the truth, as it often is, probably sits somewhere in the middle. What we can say for certain is that Arsenal are still very much alive in both competitions. The VAR controversy is part of the story, but it is not the whole story. The whole story is that Arsenal have a chance to do something truly special this season. Pep Guardiola is watching here is something worth talking about. Something that tells you just how significant this weekend is. Pep Guardiola, the Manchester City manager, the man who has won more Premier League titles than almost anyone else in the modern era, the man whose team is chasing Arsenal down right now. That man was asked before his weekend match whether he would watch Arsenal versus Fulham. His response: he looked at the timing, thought about it, and said something along the lines of, it is after training, so maybe he would watch it. Now, that might not sound like much, but think about what it means. The manager of the team directly below Arsenal in the Premier League table is going to sit down and watch the Gunners play. He wants to see if they drop points. He wants to see if the door opens even slightly for City. That is the level of scrutiny Arsenal are under right now. That is the weight of expectation on this Fulham match. And yet, is that not also something to draw energy from? Your rivals are watching. They are hoping you slip up. Is that not the perfect motivation to go out and put on a performance that makes them uncomfortable? Arsenal have been in this position before and found a way to handle the pressure. The question is whether they can do it again. Why the Fulham match matters more than people think. Some people might look at this fixture and think it is straightforward. Arsenal at home against Fulham. 3 points, move on. But that kind of thinking is dangerous in football. Fulham are a well-organised team. They have good players. They can hurt you if you switch off or take them lightly. And then there is the context. Arsenal played in Madrid just 3 days before this match. A high-intensity Champions League semi-final. Long travel, high emotion, physical and mental fatigue. That kind of game takes something out of you, even if you do not always feel it immediately. So Arteta will need to manage his squad carefully. Who gets rest? Who needs to play? How do you keep the legs fresh while also keeping the intensity high enough to win the match? These are the kind of decisions that separate good managers from great ones. And with a second leg against Atletico on Tuesday, Arteta has to think about the full picture, not just the 90 minutes against Fulham. But here is the thing. If Arsenal get it right this weekend, they go 6 points clear of City. 6 points. With the Gunners also in a Champions League semi-final. Can you imagine what that would feel like as an Arsenal fan? The Champions League dream is still alive. Let us zoom out for a second and appreciate what Arsenal have achieved just to get to this point. A Champions League semi-final. The last 4 in Europe. That is where Arsenal are right now. For a club that has been working toward this moment for years under Arteta's careful and deliberate building process, this is genuinely remarkable. It has not been easy. There have been ups and downs along the way. But here they are, and the second leg at the Emirates on Tuesday is a genuine opportunity. A 1-1 means Arsenal just need to win at home to go through. They have done that many times this season. The Emirates can be a fortress when the atmosphere is right, and for a Champions League semi-final, you can bet it is going to be electric. The only thing standing in their way is Atletico Madrid. A team built on defensive organisation and resilience, a team managed by Diego Simeone, one of the most experienced coaches in European football. They will not make it easy, they never do. But Arsenal have the talent to go through. They have shown in flashes throughout the season that they can compete with the very best in Europe. Now they need to prove it in 90 minutes at home with the crowd behind them and everything on the line. Is there a better setting for a big performance? What this moment means for Arsenal as a club, let us take a step back from the tactics and the table for a moment and just think about what this all means for Arsenal as a club. This is a team that has been rebuilt patiently, methodically, with a clear vision. When Arteta came in and started making his changes, not everyone was convinced. There were frustrations, there were moments of doubt. There were times when results did not go the way people hoped, but the belief held, the process continued. And now Arsenal are competing at the very highest level in both domestic and European football simultaneously. That is not something to take for granted. That is the result of years of work. Good recruitment, good coaching, good culture, and a group of players who have bought into what the manager is asking of them. Martin Odegaard leading from midfield. Ricardo Calafiori growing in confidence. Eberechi Eze bringing energy and creativity. These are players who have developed under Arteta's guidance. Players who are showing up in the biggest moments, the Gallas criticism, the VAR frustration, the Guardiola watching from across the city. All of this is just noise around what Arsenal are actually trying to do. And what they are trying to do is win the Premier League, win the Champions League, achieve something historic. Is that realistic? It is closer to realistic than it has been for a very long time. The question everyone is asking, can Arsenal actually do it? Can they win the Premier League title and go deep in the Champions League at the same time? It has been done before, not often, but it has been done. And right now, Arsenal have the squad depth, the quality and the momentum to make it possible. The next week is going to tell us a lot. Beat Fulham on Saturday. Win the second leg against Atletico on Tuesday. Those two results would send a message to everyone watching that this Arsenal team means business. What happens if they do not get those results? That is football. It does not always go to plan. But right now, in this moment, Arsenal have everything in their hands. They have the lead in the Premier League. They have the home leg to come in the Champions League. They have a manager who is fighting for them and a fan base that believes. What more do you need? Final thoughts. We have covered a lot of ground in this piece. The title race and what a win over Fulham would mean. The Champions League semi-final and the overturned penalty that sparked controversy. Arteta's post-match reaction and the criticism from William Gallas. And Pep Guardiola sitting at home on Saturday evening watching the Gunners and hoping for a slip. All of these threads are connected. They all tell the same story. Arsenal are right in the middle of something genuinely exciting, something that could turn into a season to remember. The debate about how managers should handle VAR decisions publicly is worth having. Gallas raised fair points. So did Arteta by fighting for his players. Football needs passionate people who care deeply, and Arteta clearly does. The challenge is channeling that passion in a way that helps rather than distracts, but ultimately it comes down to what happens on the pitch. And on the pitch, Arsenal have shown they belong at the top. Saturday cannot come soon enough, and then Tuesday, and then wherever this season takes them after that. For the Olivia Sports Arsenal community, this is the week you have been waiting for all season. Soak it up, enjoy it, back your team with everything you have. And wherever you are watching from, let us all hope that when the final whistle blows over the coming days, the scorelines are reading exactly the way we want them to. Come on, Arsenal. Let us see what you are made of.